Good morning everyone and welcome back to the garage. The R80ST is back. What happened? So I test rode the bike before I returned it on a gravel road because it wasn't legal yet and everything seemed fine. After it was insured, taxed and everything, I took it for another test road and again it rode lovely. The owner took it on a few rides, no issues at all. And then one day not too long ago, actually probably 2 weeks or so ago, I got a phone call from the owner saying he's got issues with the front brake. He took it for a ride and the front brake seized. He had to wait there until it cooled down so he could return home. So I went to see the bike. The front brake was indeed dragging a bit. The front lever is quite stiff, it feels very stiff. But the brake worked fine. I took it on a ride, short ride, nothing happened. It was a cooler day, I have to mention that. Took it on a second ride, again, nothing out of the ordinary, and the owner at that point was apologizing, thinking no, maybe it's something else, who knows what happened. And when I took it for a third ride, I felt the bike sort of trying to fight against itself. The back end was lifting up a bit and the front end was sagging, or probably just the front end sagging. And indeed I stopped and the front brake was harder to push, and by the time I got back to the owner's house the bike was barely moving. So yeah, definitely an issue. So what was actually happening with the brakes then? Well, here's the front wheel, turns freely. You can hear a slight drag from the brake pads, but not too terrible. Looking at the disc, you can see it was probably rubbing a bit. But why was it seizing? Well, the theory is that the heat made it seize. It was a bit warm to the touch, it wasn't like super hot when it actually stopped spinning at all. But the theory is that the system was actually closed even when you let go of the lever. We'll get more into that later. And because the system was closed, the brake fluid was getting warm, expanding, and because it couldn't go anywhere else, it was just pressing on the brake pads and clamping the disc. So let's see if we can replicate that. I've got a hot air gun and see if we can get the same result. So I applied a bit of heat. The caliper is warm at best. It's just a bit warm. Even though I applied heat to the outside now, it's not the brake pads causing the heat. If I touched this, I wouldn't think anything of it. But the wheel, well, it's freeing up slowly now. But it is definitely a change. The brakes are definitely holding it there. And one way to confirm it's the brake fluid doing that is to just crack open the bleed nipple. So I've attached a hose here just so I don't spill brake fluid everywhere. I'm going to crack it open and see if that suddenly frees up the brake. And to make it more conclusive, I'm just going to apply a bit more heat to it so it's solid again, and then do the test. Yeah, so it's quite solid now. Crack the blade nipple. Oh. And suddenly it's free. So now we know our issue. The brake fluid is getting pressurized by heat. So we're here at the master cylinder and I believe this is the actual problem. So there's a plunger inside, a piston with some seals. When you squeeze on the lever, this is very solid, but when you squeeze on the lever, you close the port so the system becomes sort of closed and you pressurize it. That's what makes the pads grip. The pistons push on the pads and grip the disc. When you let go of the lever, that plunger comes back and opens up a little port that's allowing the actual brake system to communicate with the reservoir, which allows some fluid to go into it if necessary. But as the brake fluid and components warm up and the fluid expands, it allows a very small amount. It doesn't expand by a lot, but it doesn't take a lot to cause trouble. It allows that amount to come back into the reservoir, so it's not pressurized when it doesn't need to be. So I'm suspecting that port is blocked all the time, either by some debris or something may have happened. So we're gonna have a look at that. Also, what I noticed is a bit of a leak. So as you can see, I took the hand cover off and the mirror, just to see a bit better what's going on, and there's a small trace of brake fluid in the actual handguard. And I look now in the master cylinder, trying to find where the leak's coming from, and it's in this area. But both joints and the actual reservoir are dry. So that's a funny one. Where's the leak coming from? So we're looking at the master cylinder now, and I've removed the reservoir. The system is still full of fluid. There's still some fluid there, but I just removed the reservoir so I can have a better look at that port. That port over there, to your right as it were, that is not drilled all the way through. So I'm not sure what that's for. So I warmed up the caliper again to the point where the wheel is seized. And what I'm going to try and do, just to rule this out, is remove the actual lever to see if that's keeping too much pressure on the plunger. There we go, the lever is out and the front wheel spins freely. So what's happening is even when this piston is fully retracted, when this lever is fully depressed, it's still pushing the piston or the plunger a bit forward, just enough to block that port and not allow the fluid to come back, so it builds pressure in the system. Not quite sure what happened there. It seemed like the wheel was spinning free when I took the lever off, but after applying a bit more heat, it's solid again, even without a lever on the master cylinder. So there's definitely something wrong with it, and I'll take it further apart. I'll take the throttle assembly off and just be left with the cylinder and see if we can figure out what's going on. Take the circlip away. And now it's just the spring holding it, I believe. And there we go. We managed to make a mess. So now that it's out, I had a closer look at it, and it does seem like aligning that face with the bottom of the counterbore where the circlip sits, it does look like that second hole, which doesn't seem to be drilled all the way through, the port that's meant to be open, and as soon as you press it forward, it shuts off. And if I shine a light right in it, I'm not even going to try to film it because it's unlikely going to see anything. If I just shine a light from above, I can see the big port that's open, but I can see a very, very faint dot after it, which is probably the other port. So what I'd like to do at this point is just to get a new master cylinder. I might do that, see what the owner thinks, because he's obviously paying for the parts. But I'm tempted to try one thing. I tried all my needles for cleaning carb jets in there and none of them fit. So I'm not sure what size that hole is supposed to be. I doubt there is any information on it. But I understand if you're judging me now, I might end up replacing it anyway. But I've got my smallest drill there. It's a 1mm drill. I had to use an extra chuck because my normal drill truck can't grip that small of a drill bit. And I'm just going to enlarge that hole to 1mm, clean all the swarf out, reassemble it, and then see what happens. So let's give it a go. And that's it. I've got the master cylinder all back together, bled the brake fluid. It feels better. It's not as stiff as it was before. And again, tried warming up the caliper. Makes no difference at all. So I'd consider this fixed. And the owner opted to have a new master cylinder installed, which is great. I'm happy about that. And it's probably where I messed up from the beginning. I should have insisted more on having a new master cylinder installed. I don't remember exactly what conversations I had with the owner about this, but because the work on the whole bike costed quite a bit and quite a few parts needed replacing, we said we're just going to rebuild this. Which is fine in most cases, but at the time I remember looking at it and it was quite corroded, and I cleaned it as best I could, but maybe that one was a bit too far gone, or paint was too flaky and all over the place. You obviously try to learn and make better decisions in the future, and this was definitely a good lesson. So yeah, hope I won't make the same mistake again. In the meantime, let's just get this master cylinder installed. And that's it, the bike's all done. I still need to take it on a test ride, but it all looks promising now. The brake works as it should. So yeah, we're definitely ending this video now. Thanks for watching and hope to see you again next time. Cheers.